I love you guys. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go up. We're going to really get hot. You know, every speaker has given it up for you guys, so I want you guys to give it up for every single speaker as hard as you can, because, guys, they spent time and effort to do this. And James, the next gentleman I brought up, he was in PR with me, and he said, Gene, I've been in your home. I looked at your view that you have. My God, I want to live there, right? But he was a football stud in high school, I'm telling you what. And if you want to learn from a gentleman from Atlanta, Georgia, that went from $36,000 in 12 months to $360,000 a year. Let's give it up for James Massey.
Let's go. Get up, let's go. What's up, CABO? Let's go. Man, I want to appreciate, I'm so happy that I was able to come up here. I'm going to be able to tell you all a little bit my story in of itself. Let me see if this thing works. I got to go backwards. So, real quick, I just want to tell you all, so my wife, a few things I did right when I was 21 years old. Actually started a business, quit my job, got married, purchased a house in of itself. So this is a picture of my family. It's my wife, my 3 kids, and they're in all ages. I mean, we got them in elementary school, we got them in middle school, and we also have them in high school in of itself. So my wife, we've been married for like 25 years now, and thank you. This year is gonna be actually 26. So just kind of getting to the whole thing, you know, when I started off in real estate, I actually started off as an investor first. I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and also Cash Flow Quadrants. The whole point of the cash flow quadrants is to get to the right side because it provides the most amount of leverage. Now, so what I was doing is I had 5 stores inside of Turner Field, which was the Brave Stadium at the time, and I was taking the money that I was making from that, and I was investing in buying real estate. So I got the bright idea that what I would do is instead of actually having a real estate agent to find my deals, I'll actually go ahead and find them myself. Now, I don't know how many of you all actually work with investors, but you know, we all think that we know more than everybody else, and I was no different at that particular time. So what ended up happening is, you know, me and my wife was in the car, and we was going to the bicycle shop because we ride bicycles. And this was right before the Brave Stadium was about to kick in, so I was very excited about that whole situation. So what ended up happening is I started going through a whole process of being shocked. And my shock was that most real estate agents were selling 0 to 5 homes a year. Most agents made less than $35,000 a year. So I knew something had to change in of that. Then I got hit by the next shocking fact, and that was that top real estate agents was not sharing their playbook of what they was actually doing to be successful. So for me, what I started realizing is that what I started doing is I just wasn't having the people that was sharing. So I had a friend of mine, he got up quite a few real estate deals. And I went to him one day and I asked him, I said, hey, why don't you tell me some of the things you're doing to get some of these listings? He said, yeah, man, let me get back with you and I'll let you know. So I went to him a second time and I told him I knew I had to make it better. And I told him, I said, hey, man, why don't I take you to lunch and you can tell me some of these things that you're doing to get some of these listings. He said, yeah, I'll get back with you. So I was very persistent, so I went to him a third time. I knew I had to make the offer better. So I told him, I said, hey, man, why don't you tell me how much you'll charge me? I'll pay for it, and you can tell me what you're doing to get some of these listings. He thought about it a little bit longer and went to him the second time, and he just never, ever gave me that information. And the reason being because I was considered a threat. I mean, God forbid that I actually sell more houses or actually do better than him. So what ended up happening to me, you know, I hit rock bottom. I actually, you know, maxed out a credit card for buying leads, and I was sued by a radio station, and I had no pipeline because I had no money. And I literally was on a real estate roller coaster. I overpaid for leads that did not convert. I could not depend on friends and family because they was buying houses, but they wasn't using me to do that. So my turning point was that it wasn't the best agent that win, it was the best marketer that win. So I really just kind of dived in and started studying marketing in of itself. So I started realizing that real estate actually was a journey. It wasn't a destination. And if I wanted to have consistent closings, I had to have an overflow of every sector of the pipeline. And what I mean by that is I had to have an overflow of leads to have an overflow of appointments. I had to have an overflow of appointments to have an overflow of people to work with, and I had to have an overflow of people to work with to have an overflow of closings. If any of that process wasn't in the overflow, it was going to affect the closing pipeline. So basically what I started realizing, there was 3 pillars if I wanted to have consistent closings going through. And that led me to pillar number 1, which was an overflow of leads. So if I understood that if I put out a primary offer and then actually put a secondary offer, then I was actually going to get in front of more people. So I really started focusing on actually putting ads out there. I started putting those ads on social media in of itself. So I started looking at lead generation kind of like pillars or oil wells within my business. The more I had up, the more my business stayed going. So if any one lead generation went away, I still had my business going. So, and that whole process led me to pillar number 2, and that was lead conversion. The thing of it is like most people say like, hey, these leads suck. These leads don't work. I had to realize maybe it wasn't the leads that sucked, maybe I was sucking at conversion. So the biggest thing that I did know is that people did not want to talk to me. They didn't actually want to do that. So I had to figure out what it is that buyers want. So, and what it is that sellers want. What buyers wanted houses. So if I position myself as the agent with the houses, guess what? I got in front of more buyers. And if I position myself as an agent with the buyers or offers, that's what? I got it for more sellers. So I had to understand that the way that I was able to overcome is to make a good offer. So for instance, if I was talking to a buyer, right, I'll ask them the question, would you be interested in getting homes sent to you from all the real estate companies? By the way, my list of properties include bank foreclosed homes, distress sale homes, company-owned homes, and even off-market properties that you might not find on Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. You might get a pretty good deal. So that whole line got me in front of way more people than just telling them like how good of a job I'm going to do. I started realizing that most people were not ready to buy something today. Only 20% were, 80% was not. So I had to have the right follow-up system to actually follow up. So when it was ready, then they thought about me first. So I pretty much had a formula in place. Most agents want to make $100,000. So you got to have a formula in place to do that. So I had to figure out first what was the average price point for your area. Then what was the average commission percentage for your area. And then also, based on that, you'll know how many deals you need to close in order to make, say, $100,000. So if I know that the average internet lead converts at about 2%, then I need about 450 leads in order for me to make my $100,000 to get my 9 deals. So now it's like, all right, so how am I going to get to 450? So if I know the average lead cost is about $10 a lead, then that's about $4,500 in order for me to get my 9 deals. So the thing of it is, it wasn't about spending $4,500, but actually doing it wisely to improve conversion rates. So if I know the average lead converts at about 2%, if I can increase that by at least 1 more percent, take it to 3%, then that was going to drastically change the outcome of everything. So once I did that, my business took off. I literally went from $36,000 in commissions to $360,000 in 12 months. I was able to give money to a charity that was dear to me. My firstborn son was born with mitochondrial disease. He actually died at 5 years old. And, it's just really dear to be able to give money back in that capacity. But I was also able to actually enjoy myself and go on vacation. And even though I was going to these nice places, something still was wrong. And the problem was, I was there and my wife was taking pictures of me not enjoying the beach, but actually on the phone. So I knew something was wrong and something had to change, right? I didn't have any leverage. That's really what it was. So that led me to pillar number 3. So the process with that is I started getting introduced to EXP. And when I got introduced to EXP, I met a guy, John Kitchens. I met a guy, Jay Kinder. And y'all might know this guy. The other guy was actually Brent Gove. And what was going on at that particular time is is they had a conference in Key West. And in Key West, it was different than every other conference I was at before. I had just came off of making $500,000 in commission. I was actually about to take my business to $1 million in commission. But the reason why this was different is because every conference I've been at before, mentors, coaches, they talked about where they had been. But this was different because it actually talked about where they were going. So I was in a situation where, I had a fork in the road. I can either go down the path that I was going, or I can go down the path that they were leading me to, which is to build an organization. So what I ended up doing is I went back home to Atlanta, and wrong button. And I went back to Atlanta, and I built an organization. So what I started doing is I started training other agents on what I did to actually grow my real estate business. And I knew that, if I wanted to get myself out there, the best way to do it is to start interviewing other people about what they was able to do to be successful in of itself. And from there, I went to every single thing. I mean, everything that was going on, because I had to learn the lingo. I had to learn, it's a process. You had to learn all of that stuff. And through that whole thing, people started interviewing me. So not only was I on the other side of those particular interviews. Once that happened, my family time returned. I literally was able to take my mom, my dad, my sister, everybody on vacation and pay for every single thing. They went to Disney World. They used to ride around. This is my mom and dad. We used to call them little scooter gang. Just ride around with that. And this is my dad in Disney World. This is my mom and dad on the beach. Man, I'm gonna tell you, growing up, my dad was real hard, real good father, but really hard. Being able to see him convert to a kid, probably one of the most proudest moments of my life, to be honest with you. So, this is it here, right? Rev share changes lives, but it only happens after you change other people's lives first. People don't build business, they actually build habits, and the habits actually make them win. So what I did is I started piquing interest for people to watch a video without mentioning the word EXP. So what I did is I replaced the word EXP with the model. So I offer 3-way strategy calls based on what the agent's needs are, and I leverage those 3-way calls to do the heavy lifting for questions about, once again, the model. Brian Carruthers' book, Building an Empire, goes over all of that. So my follow-up system is pretty simple. I invite other people, other agents to more 3-way calls, strategy calls, Zooms, and in-person events. So this is it. You get what you repeat. So this is something that I live by. What one man can do, another one can do. That's just my process. It's kind of like the be, do, have. If I want to actually have what somebody else has, I actually have to be who that person is and actually do what that person actually does. So my biggest thing in of itself is copying. I always make a joke about myself. I was a C student in high school. I occasionally got an A or B depending on who I sit next to. So I know how to freaking copy, right? so this is it right here, y'all. Results have very little to do with the goals that I set, but it has a lot to do with the systems that I actually follow. Goals are about results you want to receive, and systems about the process to achieve those particular goals. So if you are system-minded instead of actually being goal-minded, you can actually be happy once the system is running rather than only when the goal is actually met. So you don't rise to the level of your goals, you actually rise or fall to the level of your systems. So the majority of people are here at this particular company because they actually watch the video, if you break it all down. So instead of focusing on if someone joins or not, focus on how many people they actually move through the system. So agent attraction success is based on 3 key things: the number of people that actually watch the video, the number of 3-way calls booked, and the number of people that you invite to an event. I mean, you literally can measure that whole process. And if you're pushing people through that system, I guarantee you'll get people to actually join in and being part of your organization. So this is something I have on there. Agent attraction is an act of love. You got to think about it. This company does so much stuff, right? Well, you know, we got rev share, we got stock, we got all this stuff, but the biggest thing, we got community, we got love. We're actually sharing to everybody about this whole thing. So if you got an agent that's out there that's not part of us, like, you're doing them a disjustice by not reaching out. Like, you should be reaching out to every single body because you love that person and you want them to have a better life. So this is the thing right here. Rev share actually changes lives. It's changed my life. It's changed so many other people's lives. When I tell you, when I really think about it, you know, because I made the decision to actually be a part of this company, 1,100 plus other people made that same decision. So these are people that are like cappers. These are people selling their first home. These are people that are icon agents. These are people that have built rev share organizations. These are people that don't have to actually do the hustle and bustle in of itself. So I'm telling you, rev share changes lives, but it does not happen until you've changed other people's lives first. So this is my information right here. You all follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everything of itself. Man, I appreciate y'all for letting me tell my story. Hey, let's go, CABO! CABO 2025! Let's rock and roll!